Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you once again for joining this webinar on literary devices and specifically in drama. And yes, please share with your friends and acquaintances that this webinar has started so that they can come and also join and watch the webinar. We'll start by 10:10, so we'll wait for other participants to join. Those who have joined already, thank you so much and welcome. Today's webinar on literary devices. This is the third day of the webinar, right? And we have completed 2 already, and there is one more left that will be conducted tomorrow, same time, that is 10 a.m. Indian Standard Time, and probably 12:30 in Philippines or 11:30 in Indonesia. And that's very nice of you that you have come and watch the webinar. So please share that this webinar has started, and let me know if my voice is audible or not. Please let me know if my voice is audible or not. Again, there will be 3 parts to this webinar. Like, one would be the delivery, the second would be the feedback form, and third is the certificates. So feedback form is one of the requirements for the certificates. You need to fill the feedback form. Once it is filled, you'll receive the certificates in few seconds, few minutes. And so I request the participants to please let other participants thank you, other participants to know that it has started. And so we shall start by 10:10. Thank you for sharing. And this will be on, this webinar will be on literary devices, and those who are doing English honors and in English, this is a fruitful session for them. Apart from that, teachers can also learn. They can refresh their knowledge, or they might get something new out of it. Or those who are teaching drama, or those who are teaching college or school, they'll benefit from this. And so the feedback form will be shared after the webinar on the chat window itself. So if you can look where we are chatting, that's a public chat window. I'll be sharing the feedback form there only, and so from there you can access it and fill it. And the certificates will get mailed as soon as the feedback form is filled. And by 10:10 we'll be starting. People can come and join. So this session will be all about literary devices. Thank you. Thank you. And so we'll start by 10:10. We'll wait for the participants, and the video will be there on the YouTube channel, so you can come anytime and watch. But I'll remove the link by evening, so feedback form, so those who are watching live will get the opportunity to fill the feedback form and get the certificates. But if you have any problem regarding the certificates, you can mail me. So you'll be getting the certificates through mail. And hi everybody, thank you once again for joining. So what I was saying was that you'll get the certificates through email, and you can reply back to that mail only. And so that we can, like, if you have any problem regarding the certificates or any problem regarding if you have any issues, you can mail me. So that's the email you'll be getting after when you get the certificates on which through which the certificates will come. That's a mail representing us. And so today's session is about literary devices. I think most of you are aware of this, but those who know it, they'll get a refresher, and the students, that English literature and English honors student, they'll like it. And this is dedicated to all, like students as well as the teachers who are teaching this. And once again, let me tell you, this will be like in 3 parts. First is the webinar, like first the delivery of the webinar. Second one is the feedback form, that you need to fill the feedback form, give your honest feedback, honest review, and after that you'll receive the certificates. And please write your email and name properly, I mean the way you want it to be published, especially the name. You want it to in the same pattern you want it to be published onto the certificates. And second thing is, please give the valid email ID, because the certificates will be mailed automatically to the email ID that you will be submitting in the feedback form. And once again, please write your name properly. I mean, like what you write, what you intend to write, because that will be published onto the certificate. And if you write your valid name, your certificate will be valid, and that's why I was saying. And so this all is in this way. So not an issue, will start by 10:10. So this is also a brief session. It will give you the basic idea about literary devices that are used in drama, and there will be some examples so that you can understand better. And this is specifically for the people who are doing English honors, and they have doing their bachelor's or postgraduate in English honors with English major. This session is for those students, and apart from that, teachers can also come and participate. Like they'll also get something out of it, and probably they would write feedback. They'll fill the feedback form. That will be helpful for me as well. And I am Ashumit, like I'll be the host for this session, like I'll be conducting the session. And we have conducted many sessions like previously, and there is my page, so you can also visit the page because there are few webinar on that page as well. So if you liking the Facebook page, you can do that as well. And that's the link of the Facebook page that we run, so you get all the latest updates there. And also like there is a message column, you can go and message whatever you want. Like if you want any training, so you can also message there, like, or you have any problem like regarding English honest syllabus or anything probably related to English grammar, or even IT, you can go and talk to us there. And also you have the email ID, so you can also do that. And please do fill the feedback form honestly, because it will help us grow, because I can see there are many teachers who are attending this, like they have good experience, they have valuable experience, and this might help us grow. And there is one more webinar scheduled for tomorrow. That's the last webinar. That is for theory of language learning. So that is also very important, because that includes the psychological aspects of what is happening when people learn something. Okay, so by 10 we'll start, and that, as I said, this is also a brief session. Hello everybody. This is a brief session, and so but there is a lot to learn. And meanwhile, you can like the page. I have shared the link of the page, like if you want to get updated regarding our webinar, so that you can get it through that page. And you can get the certificate. The certificates will be delivered after the feedback form is filled, because that's an automated version. So once you fill the feedback form, the certificates will be delivered to you. So please do write the exact email ID and the name you wish to be published on the certificates. So let's start the topic. So literary devices, drama. I think most of us are aware of what is drama. It's one of the genres of literature. Like there is poetry, there is fiction, non-fiction, there is short story, then essays, and then comes the drama. Drama is the active form of literature, which means like the story is enacted like somebody, instead of somebody reading the story, there are characters and dialogues and settings and a theme and a characterization to observe. So it is basically the replica of human circumstances presented onto the stage before an audience. And this could be of different genre as well, like tragedy, comedy, tragicomedy, and so on. Themes could be different: prejudices, then vengeance, love and romance, etc., etc. So the fact is, drama is the active form of literature, which simply means that, as I said, it gets displayed through human action, where it is portrayed through humans. Like, those are called actors. I think most of us are aware of. It's very easy to explain drama. Those are called actors. Actors are the heart and soul of a drama. Like, they have some peculiar characterization, and they act and they portray a characterization of some character or some thought process, and they interact with each other, and there is a plot. Plot means there is some exposition, there is some rising action, and there is climax, and after climax there is falling action, and there is some conclusion. So how the story is going is plot, and what is the story is generally the story. So that's the fact. So literary devices, like, these are the ingredients, or you can say these are the devices that is utilized by dramatists or playwrights to create a beautiful play, so that the audience get amused. So there is no practical use of literature as such, but it can motivate people, right? Things are generally spoken or narrated or written. Things are generally communicated, and then communication is powerful, communication is valuable, so that people, our boss communicates. He says whatever. Our boss has to say something to us, and he needs to communicate, right? So to make communication possible, he'll use some medium. It could be a written medium, it could be an oral medium, right? So that is also what it is. Like, it is literature. When a boss is writing a letter to us or email to us, it's a kind of literature. It's a form of literature, and it's a form of communication. The boss is communicating with us, like he's telling something to us. Similarly, when we talk with our juniors, we do the same way. Okay, we tell them this, do that through email or through vocal communication, etc. So the thing is, literature is everywhere if you look at, and there is language involved in literature, and there is no one language at all, but the thoughts are same. Love is love everywhere, right? But the representation of love is different. Okay. In Hindi it is called pyar, in English it is called love, so that is different. But language is different, but signals or signifiers, the object is generally the same. So literary devices are basically those devices which are employed by the dramatist, as I already said, to create some peculiar atmosphere, so that the impact of the drama is more. So let's see what are those devices that we will be covering in this session. And welcome once again, everybody. So these are the few devices that we'll be covering today, and there are many, and even wise or even a powerful dramatist or playwright can create his or her own dramatic devices. So in today's session we'll be discussing about poetic justice, catharsis, tragic flaw, dramatic irony, asides, and soliloquy. So these are basically, as you already know, are dramatic devices, and we'll see how things change. Like, so these are from the point of view of writer, the one who is writing the drama, one who is creating the plot, and from the perspective of students, if they know all these things, they can know beyond the normal people, like they can know beyond the normal average audience, because they know the qualities and the peculiarities and functions of all these things. And for the students who are doing English major, this is a very fruitful session this would be a very fruitful session for them. So catharsis is important. Then there is soliloquy, aside, dramatic irony, poetic justice, and catharsis is one of the psychological perspective to the drama, like what drama creates or generates in the audience. And let me tell you once again, there is nothing materialistic about drama until and unless somebody is observing. Literature is nothing without its observer. Somebody needs to be there to read, somebody needs to be there to be as an audience. So that's the most important issue. I mean, not issue, that's most important pillar of literature. And literature becomes literature by reading. Until unless somebody reads, it doesn't become the literature. So you have written a very good piece of drama, you've written very good poetry, or somebody has written very good short story, but nobody is there to read, then it is of no use. So that's the major issue. So that's the duality that is there in this topic. Writers are there, but audience are required to create that, because the audience's brain will decipher it and understand what is there, and they will then appreciate, and the appreciation is the fuel for the writer. I think those who write, I think they can understand, they can relate to what I'm saying. And so we'll be discussing about poetic justice, catharsis, tragic flaw, dramatic irony, aside, and soliloquy. And these are very popular and very, you can say, easier and popular devices in drama, and most are very common. Poetic justice is very common, you'll find it in every story. Tragic flaw is somewhat rare, but you can also find it. Dramatic irony, that is also very popular. Aside is there, soliloquy is there, and catharsis is I think the most important one is catharsis, where there is some reaction and something happening in the psychology, in the psyche of the audience, which helps in releasing the stress or repressed emotions, and people feel comfortable after that. So this is one of the, you can say, practical use of drama, where the drama is created in such a way that a feeling of pity or fear is created into the audience's brain, and they relate it to an extent that their repressed emotions gets out of through crying or through laughing or some other way, or shouting. Okay, so the emotions are powerful, and they need to be released in a right way, through right channel, and catharsis might help in that. But there are some people who don't believe that. They say that catharsis doesn't help in repression, I mean release of repressed emotion, but when through this channel the emotions are released, there is some other side effects to this. So different people have different views, but you follow your view, you follow your experiment, you do your empirical studies, and then you decide. Because literature is, as I said, literature doesn't become literature by writing, it becomes literature by reading. And readers are not one, readers are many, they have their different experiences, they have their different psychologies, they have their different opinion. So that's the main issue. So you need to understand what is happening here. So poetic justice, catharsis, tragic flaw, dramatic irony, aside, and soliloquy we will be covering today. And for tomorrow's session, we will be covering the some psychological theories and for language acquisition or language learning, and this applies to all. Okay, so we'll start with poetic justice. So before going any further, let's understand what is poetic justice. It's a term coined by Thomas Rhymer, and he was a critic, historian, dramatic critic. He was also antiquary, and he shown that term in the It's a written piece called The Tragedy of Last Age Considered, and there he called is Poetical Justice. Okay, and it is very easy. It can be understood easily. If you read the PPT, you'll understand. Good is rewarded and bad is punished at the end of this play to spread moral lessons. Absence might traumatize audience. Okay, so first of all, the first point is good is rewarded and bad is punished at the end of the play. Okay, so this is saying that in a story, when somebody does bad things and somebody does good thing, and at the end of the story, in the conclusion, the person who has done the bad things are punished and the person who has done the good things are rewarded. Okay, so I'm talking about the plot. Please remember, plot is how the story is taking place, what is happening, what is the sequence of action. Okay. So good is rewarded and bad is punished at the end of the play. That is the definition of poetic justice. How can good be rewarded and how can bad be punished? I think you can relate it. For instance, like if you look at a story where a king is there, he's cruel, he's not very kind, he's not compassionate. Okay, he gives bad sentences to people, like his judgment is always wrong, and he is not at all, taking the kingdom ahead on the path of development, or he's happy in his pleasures, or he's happy with his enjoyments, and he's not considering anything. And at the same time, there is a servant who is doing something good. He tries to help people, he tries to bring good in people, and what happens is, there somehow the king is defeated, and public and democracy comes in, and that servant becomes the king, and king is defeated and he is exiled. So you can understand, like, he was a bad character, he was doing bad, the bad things were coming from the king and the good things were coming from the servant. So the servant becomes the king, and the king got defeated and exiled or marooned in some place. Okay, so that's how the poetic justice is carried out in a story. It's a device used by playwright and writers, and where they think that good deed should be awarded and bad deed should be punished, so that there is a balance in the society, because audience tries to relate to the characters, and when audience is relating to the character, you can even traumatize them if you don't do it. This is what the supporters of poetic justice say. The absence of, suppose somebody has done very bad thing, and now in the story he is getting or she is getting rewarded, and the story ends. So you can understand there is some confusion, and there could be possibility that people get traumatized, and they could be thinking, like, what is happening, like he or she has done bad, but still people are giving him good wishes, or she's being rewarded. I'm talking about the character. So supporter of poetic justice say there should be a balance, there should be virtuous things carried out in a play. So good is rewarded and bad is punished, and this is to spread the moral lesson, which is very important. If I talk about the Sanskrit drama, there is no tragedy there. Every drama is a comedy. If you go and check the Sanskrit drama, but I'm not sure about other culture or other, like what kind of drama is prevailing in Philippines, Indonesia, Russia, England, America. Like, they have their own set of styles and set of rules, but these things could be universal. You can find all these things in all of the drama, irrespective of the nationality or culture they are written in. So poetic justice, it's a term coined by Thomas River. He called it poetical justice in his written piece, that is the Tragedies of the Last Age Considered, and where he declared that good must be rewarded and bad must be punished at the end of the play, and this is to spread the moral lessons. And absence can traumatize audience. You can relate how it is. So that's how the thing is. So anybody wants to comment on that, like poetic justice? So you can do that in the comment section. and and so Poetic Justice, it's one of the devices where the playwright creates the plot in such a way that the character who would do bad will be punished and the character who would do good things will be rewarded in the conclusion of the play, and people get the feeling of balance and they are generally happy. By people I mean the audience only. Okay, so let's move on to the next device that we have, and that is catharsis. And this is, as I said, this is one of the psychological, this is one of the output consequence of watching drama, and it relates to the plot. In fact, everything is relating to the plot. So catharsis, this is the term that is coined by Aristotle, and he used the word catharsis as a metaphor in his book Poetics to explain the effect of tragedy on audience, and it is taken from the word catharsis, that's a medical term. So it generally relates to purgation or purification of emotions through art. And you can understand, like suppose there is a scene which we can relate, we are watching drama or movie and there is a scene which we can relate, probably a negative scene or positive scene, and at the at the end of the play or during the scene we might feel some feelings, we might feel something is happening inside us, and we start crying, or at the same time we become anxious or we start to get angry. So this is how catharsis works, and it tries to take out the repressed feelings through us, from us. Okay, when we cry, what we do, we are basically releasing the extra emotions. Crying and shouting and depression is basically what it is just the, you can say it's the tap, it's the overflow button. When we get overflown by emotions, we cry. When we get overflown by different kind of emotions, then we do what? Okay, and so Aristotle used catharsis as metaphor in Poetics to explain the effect of tragedy on audience, purgation or purification of emotions through art. So this is the two things. And so as I was saying that yes, the things are, we tend to relate as an audience, we tend to relate with the circumstances, tend to relate with the scene, and at the same time what happens is that we think that we are living the story, we are in the same place in the story, like we are that character and we are doing that because the similar thing has happened to us, and the similar outcome, or probably the good outcome or bad outcome of that comes, and then we try to think in our brain that what is happening, and through which our emotions are released. Probably catharsis is generally relates to tragedy, and the feeling of pity and fear comes into picture, and we try to get over it. Like everybody has some repressed emotions, because this is how the world has been woven. Like we have to go through a lot of things, and that is how we grow. And so, or that's not an issue. And the fact is, like we have all these things. The devices that help us to do a lot many things. So catharsis, again, it's something considered as a consequence of drama, that feelings like pity and fear or anxiety or some other kind of feeling gets that gets out of us, and we are released. I mean, we become comfortable. Okay, for instance, like two people had a fight, and they went into a silent mode, and they're not speaking at all with each other. So there is things which are piling up inside their body. They're repressing their emotions, and there are many things related to that which is not good. It is not good for our health, it is not good for our brain, it is not good for our nervous system, and most vital, system in our body get affected. Okay, so that's, and the supporters of catharsis say this helps in doing that, and this helps in releasing that repressed emotions in humans. But some non-supporters, like those who are against the catharsis, say this is not something like that, and the process is not right. There are some medical processes, but this process is not right, and people might get different diseases out of doing that. Okay, so I am not sure who is correct or who is wrong, but it depends on you. And what I have felt that sometimes the emotions got released, and sometimes there is some other problem, so it's kind of mix and match. But you can go and check, like if you wish, if you want to do something in that, so definitely go and check. So catharsis is once again, it is a term coined by Aristotle in his book Poetics, and that's a very famous book. And in English literature, apart from that, there are many other books and stories like that contains all these things, probably in Sanskrit, in Malayalam, or some other country language, or some other countries. So there are contemporaries, and so that's not an issue. And then there is purification of emotions, and that's the main thing, that what I have just described as the purification of emotions. Like if we had repressed emotions that is encroaching us or poaching our psyche, and when we watch a particular form of drama, it gets out of us, and the emotions gets purified. So that's the whole idea behind catharsis. And yes, in yesterday's session what happened was, I think the internet connection got closed somehow. I don't know why. Probably there is something bad happened. I don't know what has happened. Probably there is some load increase on the internet. And what happened there, that I have shared the feedback form link, but somehow that got closed, and that's why it got lost. Well, there are 3-4 videos of live videos that are there on the channel. You can go and check it out, but I think today it won't happen, and I'll be sharing the feedback form after this, I mean after we finish the webinar. Okay, the next is tragic flaw, and I think this is also important. And again, Mr. Aristotle is credited in coining the term, which means to err, in his book Poetics. And it is generally an error of judgment at the hero's end that leads to downfall, and it could be vengefulness, cowardice, laziness, and hypocrisy. So let's understand what happens. So tragic flaw is a technique like used by the the playwright or dramatist, and where a character is, in the characterization of the character, there is some flaws. I mean, there is some behavior that is added, and in due course of the story, as the story grows, leads to the fall of that character. I mean, fall, probably in the story he's very rich at the beginning, and in the end of during the and through the end of the story he becomes poor. Okay, or he's very jolly, or his vengefulness, his cowardice, or he's lazy, or he's hypocritic, and through these characteristics he tries to behave with the audience, with the other characters. And as because there is a drawback in his character, there is a drawback in his behavior, there is a bad character, I mean there is a bad quality, there is a bad behavior element that is associated with the character, and in due course it leads him or her to its downfall. A downfall could be a death, a downfall could be some lack of work, or downfall could be anything. So downfall means what the character was not in the beginning, and character is deteriorating in his life. Okay, probably he's rich and now he's poor. He was healthy, now he's sick. Or he was a strong man, now he's beaten by people. All because of there is a tragic flaw, or it is in other term it is also called hamartia. And Aristotle has coined this term, which means to err, that is, you can see. And the fact is, most of the time it is with the hero of the story. Okay, like he is the protagonist or she is the protagonist of the story, and at the same time he or she has that bad quality, like cowardice, laziness, hypocrisiness, okay, and vengefulness, which leads to his destruction. I think there are plenty of stories. Okay, and if you look at the story of the hare and the tortoise, that's a very simple story, where the hero should be the hare, because the rabbit, because he has all the qualities of hero. He's fast. The rabbit is fast. The rabbit is cunning. The rabbit is strong. The rabbit has all the brains of the world, right? He or she has all the properties. Okay, but he had that one flaw, which is overconfident, which is overconfidence, and that is the tragic flaw. Okay, so when somebody was writing the character of hare or the tortoise, what would the writer has written, he or she has written, he has introduced a tragic flaw into that character of the rabbit, which is overconfidence. Okay, and what in the story what happened, he and the tortoise and the hare started a race, and they challenged each other, and the rabbit knew that tortoise cannot run, or it walks very slow, or slower as compared to him, and so he started the race with full might, and he started resting in a place underneath a tree or beneath a tree, and what happens then? What happens afterwards? Like, he thought that he's very strong, the tortoise is far way behind, and he cannot come, the tortoise cannot come, cannot win. So he got some kind of overconfidence in him, which is an example of tragic flaw, and because of that he lost the race. So that's the downfall of losing the race, is the downfall of the character. In the beginning he was very strong, he was here, he was powerful, he was a very good runner, but at the end of the story he's a loser, right? So this is how the tragic flaw works. And as I have already told you, this would be a brief session as well, because there is not much to explain. But the fact is, those who want to write something, write a short story, write a drama, so they can get a lot out of this. Not only those people which I discussed, students can also take advantage out of that, because this is the question comes in the question paper, like what is tragic flaw, what is catharsis, and what is all that. So you can understand it, I think. Okay, so let's move on to, I think this is clear. We just yes, I'll send the PPTs as well for the previous webinar, not an issue. So we just finished tragic flaw, but before that we finished this, that is catharsis, and even before that we have finished poetic justice. So 3 we have finished already, and then we move on to another important, the most cunning device, that is dramatic irony. Okay, and if you read the description that is given on the PPT, it is occurs when a situation is comprehended by the audience but not by the character, often contradictory, irony. Okay, so what it is saying, that on the stage when characters are performing, okay, few characters are doing something that is what they are doing and what they are behaving, or their knowledge, their understanding of situation is lesser than the understanding of the same situation by the audience. That's the function of dramatic irony. This is how the dramatic irony works. Okay, so basically it happens when a situation is comprehended by the audience better than the character, and then and this creates something very interesting. This creates something very interesting situation, and this situation is often contradictory. I mean, what the characters are thinking, but what is actually happening is the exact opposite of it, and the audience can understand. And if you talk about irony, irony has been derived from a Greek character which is called Iron, and he was a stock character, and something he used to do which was very different. Okay, so dramatic irony, if you can look at the example, and if you look at the example, behave like you're an audience, and you know more than what the fish knows, right? If you can look at that, you'll understand. Okay, so what the fish is saying: first he warms our bowl, now he's feeding us, and you thought he wasn't friendly. So I think in this situation we know better than what the fish is saying, right? What the fish is comprehending, right? Because we know that cat is going to make fish curry out of those two fish, that we know. Okay, but at the same time, the character, those two fishes, they do not know this is what happened. Okay, so this is dramatic irony. And so again, as I told you, this is a brief session, and probably we shall finish by 11:10 or 11:20 or around, yes, 11:10 or 11:20. So dramatic irony, once again, it's a technique whereby the plotters or the playwright or dramatist create a situation in the drama where the audience knows better than the character, and most of the time it is contradictory. And for example, at the ending of the Romeo and Juliet, one was lying conscious, but the other character did not know that he or she was lying, and he thought that she is dead, and then what he does, he drinks the poison himself as well, and then he dies also. But the audience knew, right? The audience knew. Yes, this is what I'm doing. The audience knew that the lover is just unconscious. She has not drink the poison. Okay, but the other character did not know that, and he drinks the poison and dies. So this is the exact example of dramatic irony. And for instance, like two people are talking and you're watching, and two people are fighting over an issue that you know that this is not what has happened, but two people are fighting because of misunderstanding, and you know the misunderstanding, what is that? Okay, and so this is another example that is my voice audible? Is my voice audible? Please reply on the public window. And I think the stream resumed. Like there were a few glitches, but it resumed. Is my voice audible? Please reply on the chat window. thank you. And okay, thank you. Sorry. So dramatic irony, basically, suppose another example could be like two people are fighting with each other and there is some misunderstanding, and you are there, you know that they are fighting for a wrong reason, like there is no such thing on which they are fighting. And so consider those two characters, two people, the characters on the stage, and you as an audience, so you can relate now. Okay, probably there are two people are fighting for some issues that are not there. Actually, this is misunderstanding, and you know that they're fighting for a bad reason, and we're fighting for not a good reason. There is a misunderstanding, and in that case, that's a perfect example of dramatic irony. When it happens on the stage, that it becomes dramatic irony. Okay, and it is generally contradictory. Okay. So, and there are a few more examples, like if you can think, like if you try to know, that you'll understand that suppose there are like teacher is teaching in the class, okay, and you are sitting and teacher is having a conversation with a boy or a girl, and probably he's asking for a, okay, he's asking for a question, like he's asking for a question, and the guy is replying the wrong answer. Probably the guy is taunting the teacher, and teacher thought he said the wrong answer, like he said the wrong answer. For instance, teacher asked what is the time, and the guy replies that it is bad, the time is bad. Okay, and teacher thought that this is wrong, but you know that but as an audience, you know there is that what is going inside the brain of that character, because that boy is not happy with the teacher, or teacher has not consoled the boy. Probably they had a fight, or probably teacher has some misunderstanding, so they have some misunderstanding, or they have something which is not right, and you understood that he's taunting the teacher, or the teacher is doing something else, but those two people do not know, and compare those teacher and student as what? As teacher and student as the two characters, and the guy there as the audience. So that's all about dramatic irony. So let's move on to the next technique, that is aside, and then it is also very important. I mean, this is you can find asides in the Hollywood movies, in the Hindi movies, or probably in your movies, your language movies, Philippines, Indonesian, American, UK, Russian. This you'll find in every movie. So if you read the definitions and the characteristics of aside, a character's spoken word that are not heard by other characters. So aside is basically spoken words that are not heard by, that are not meant for other characters on the stage. It is generally spoken to audience, or probably to other characters in some extreme cases, useful in giving audience peculiar information about plot, other character on stage, giving audience narrative. It's a brief comment, occurs within the context of the play, gossiping about other characters, often humorous. So basically, you can experiment. The people, the dramatist and playwright has done a lot of experiment with all these techniques. But aside is basically when the characters talks with the audience. It's a small dialogue, it's a short talk, it's a succinct talk, it's a brief talk, where and the purpose behind that is to give some interesting information about the plot, or probably other characters, okay, or probably about a matter which is going to come, and so that the audience knows what is there, so that they know what is going to happen, right? So that they understand, like, oh, this is good, so that they can expect this and this. So they get ready, and the things come. They take that to another example. So it is like that. Like the teacher has given you pre-reading material, okay, for a class, I mean for a session, and that's you can relate it, that that could be a good analogy to explain that thing. So aside is basically spoken words that are intended for the audience, and it's a brief comment, basically brief. This is done for a brief period of time, and the fact is it is always related to the drama. So it is not like that the drama is about love story, and then somebody is there and it is talking about politics, or it's talking about history, it's talking about economics, he or she is talking about something else. Okay, so the thing is, it occurs within the context of the play. Okay, and that is very important, because it will always talk about what is going to come, what the people can expect, and it sometimes can be gossiping about other characters, and this could be humorous. And for instance, a character come on the stage and he's alone and he's talking and sharing information about a character, like he's very good and now he'll come and he'll give me tea, but before that she will go there and she'll do that, and she'll come and she's very happy. She has some bad experience, or there is traumatic experience with her, and then she comes and something happens. Okay, so this is one of the examples of gossiping about the characters, and probably this could be like a character comes before in a duration of a play, comes and he explains, like he's not happy with what has happened, and he's very sad, and or he's very sad, and he think he will do something, and for that he's going to jail. And another moment something happens, like police comes and arrest him, and later on it is revealed that he has done something like this. Okay, so aside and soliloquy are two different things, but at the same time they are very similar, and people sometimes use this term interchangeably, but there is a minor difference that we'll see. So once again, reading the example, reading the definitions. Aside is basically the spoken words, okay, and this environment and the situation in which, and in the way in which the spoken words are conveyed, all together makes what is called aside. Okay, character spoken words are not heard by other characters. That is one more thing. When aside is happening, it is not available for the other characters, and it is generally intended for the audience, because audience is watching. Okay, audience is watching, and audience has to comprehend the play, audience has to understand the play, and that's why it is there. It will be like some inputs, so that the audience gets ready, and the audience so that the appreciation will be good. Audience can appreciate it in a better way, audience can understand the play in better way. Okay, so this is all the things. This is all about, like, when you crack a joke, people need to understand it, and if you compare that joke to a 3 hours play, so you can understand how many different twists and tales are there. Okay, how many different situation and action can be woven like in a plot. Okay, and aside is one of the devices where a single character alone on the stage, not other characters be able to hear, speak something to the audience about the subject matter of the play, or probably other character, or probably some you can say there some peculiar information about the plot, and this happens. Okay, or for instance, a character comes on the play and say yeah, bravo XYZ. Okay, so audience gets some idea, that's okay, this is something like this. He's hailing, he's appreciating the work some character has done or something has done. So you can try to relate. The audience will try to relate it with what is going to come, right? What is not going to come, or what is going to come. Okay, so this is aside. It's basically spoken words that are not heard by other characters but heard by the audience. Okay, basically an extreme condition, it could be intended for other characters, and occurs within the context of the play. This is a brief comment, please mind that. And this could be gossiping about other characters to with the audience. And if you Google it, you'll find, I mean, if you search on YouTube the examples of so you can find good examples in most of the Hollywood movies, because they utilize these like this device a lot, probably in Hindi movie. And as I said, it's a universal techniques. It can be employed by any dramatist or around the world, around the globe. So probably their definition can differ, and as I have already told, as we have already seen, that literature is creativity. So somebody can experiment with the aside, or somebody can experiment, somebody can add, because nobody is going to stop you. The fact is, unless a piece of writing is amusing, you are winning the situation. You follow some devices or not, you follow some pattern or not, that doesn't matter. What matter is that the audience is liking your work, and that's it. This is all about literature, because the fact is, literature becomes literature by reading, by audience involving, by other minds reading to it. It doesn't become literature by some other techniques. Okay, so this is aside. Once again, I'm reading aloud the facts related to. It's a character spoken word that are not heard by other character on the stage. It is generally spoken to the audience, and probably it can be spoken to other character in some extreme cases. Useful in giving audience peculiar information about plot, other character on stage, giving audience understanding of the matter. It's a brief comment, please mind that. Occurs within the context of the play, gossiping about other characters, often humorous. Okay, so this is the definition and examples of, I mean, aside. Yes, that could be one of the possibility, one of the way of putting the thing. But the fact is, audience, yes, you were talking about dramatic irony. Yes. Okay, let's move on to the next part. And so that was one example, if you can understand. And let's move on to the last last part of today's webinar, soliloquy. So these speeches are generally not intended for the audience. It is a speech which is created by a character in privacy, when the character is alone, and this leads to the revelation of thoughts and feelings of the character. It is always a long speech, and it is not directed towards the audience. Please mind that aside is for audience, and soliloquy, yes, the audience will be listening, but it is not intended for the audience. It is intended towards the thoughts and feelings of the character, in fact the revelation of that. Okay, and this is also very important aspects which is employed, device which is employed in Hollywood and in Bombay, or I mean the industry, the movie industry, where you can see like suppose you sit in a room. I'm giving you a live example. You sit in a room and you talk to yourself, okay, and you say like, I'm very good, I did that, I shouldn't do that, I feel myself guilty, I do not feel myself guilty, I'm okay, I was very strong, I like that, I like them, or like I do not like them, I do that, I did not do that, I did that, I did not do that. So you are talking when you are in private, you're saying your things out, or somebody is saying, the character is, suppose your character, and you're saying all these things. So this will reveal the thoughts and feelings. So probably in a drama, a character is during the introduction or the first phase of the drama, the character is showing that he's very good, he's very caring, okay, and Okay, very good, he's very caring. Okay, and like he's doing something, like he's going and he's uh, doing something, and probably he's or the character is suppose character is obsessed with helping people. You've seen in the first phase of the drama that character is obsessed with the people. Okay, and but in the soliloquy it was understood when the character was alone and in private space, and he or she was revealing that something has happened to him or her, and that's why he got obsessed with this feeling, and that's why so this is happening. So it is kind of a selfish thing that is coming up. Okay, few would consider it as selfish, but few won't consider it as selfishness. Okay, and this is how the thing is. So we shall stop the webinar here because this was the last topic. An example could be the Hamlet. If you have read the Hamlet, the scene to be or not to be, that is the question, and that is the soliloquy. If you can remember, those who have read Hamlet and understood they'll understand what I'm talking about. So in Hamlet, when to be or not to be is said by the lead character, and so that is the example of soliloquy, when he's talking and he's getting confused. Okay, I think the video is okay right now, it is working good, and this is the example. And now I'll share the feedback form, and thank you once again everybody. And so you can, I think, and I'll, yes, it's a famous soliloquy. And I am sharing the feedback form. Link, please fill it. And you please fill the feedback form. And so I have shared the link of the feedback form. Please do fill it so that you will receive the certificates. Okay, and if you have any problem regarding your certificates, please let me know. And please let me know if the feedback form is available. I mean, it is there, like you can access it. Please let me know you have an access to the feedback form or not. I have shared the feedback form, and please fill the feedback form. And the certificates will be shared. Once the feedback form is filled. And once you fill the feedback form, you'll receive the certificates. And we shall close the session by 11:15. And thank you. And thank you for the feedback form. And feedback, sorry. And I think the you got, I think you got the certificates as well, I think. And if you have any problem with the certificate, please let me know. And we shall close the session by 11:10, and this video will be here, so you can go and you can share this with your friends so that they can come and watch. We will close the session now. I think you have filled the feedback form, and thank you so much for attending. Goodbye and